Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Black Fireman. My name is Eric J. Neal, and I am your host. Now, today we're talking about something that's controversial. And what makes it controversial is we call ourselves firefighters. But how much fires do we fight? It's a very small percentage. We're talking about less than 10%. So how do we justify the jobs that we do? How do we justify the equipment that we purchase to fight fire, special rescue, etc.? Well, we have somebody from Frontline Pros that explains this in detail. So let's take a look at that and see what Frontline Pros has to say.
Firefighters have always been the obvious answer in life or death moments. When the candle in the family room caught the curtains on fire, you needed everybody, and I mean everybody, to come running. When entire communities were burning down, it made sense to hire professional, dedicated firefighters to protect families, their homes, and their history. But here's the twist. Today, things have changed. With modern cities protecting their people with hundreds of millions of dollars in equipment, training, stations, and resources, we might need to rethink how that money is being used. Good morning, and buckle up, because today we're talking about the real everyday life of a modern firefighter. And trust me, it's not the Hollywood version. Before we go further, take a guess. How often does the average firefighter actually fight a working fire? Once every 22 days. That's right. The movie-style fires we see are rare. Even structural fires are few and far between. So what do firefighters spend the majority of their time doing? Well, most of the day includes checking equipment, maintaining the rigs, keeping the station clean, detailed inspections, and then you wait, you train, you wait, you meal prep, cook, work out, and then you wait some more. And that's just the beginning. Because here's the reality. Modern firefighters have had to evolve. Actual fires now make up only about 5% of the calls they respond to in their entire career.
Oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire!
That means the job description had to change. Fire departments knew the number of working fires was going down, so they expanded into another realm, medical calls and emergency care. Today, firefighters run far more medical emergencies than fires, often assisting paramedics or acting as first responders. But studies show something surprising. In many cases, the firefighters arrive only a minute or two before EMS, and only 1 to 2% of those calls showed a significant difference in patient outcome. And that raises a fiery question. If firefighters and paramedics are doing similar work, why does society spend so much more on the fire service? You can thank strong history, unshakable public respect, great storytelling in movies and media, and some powerful public relations. But let's talk numbers, because the numbers tell the story. According to the Fraser Institute, from 1997 to 2012, fires dropped by 41%. The number of firefighters went up by 36%. Non-fire emergency calls increased by 24%. Spending skyrocketed even though fire incidents have been decreasing for decades. And if you're curious, you can check your own city's annual report to see the same pattern. To stay relevant, departments increased medical training, became first aid and EMR instructors, and expanded into community roles, inspectors, educators, and more. Many departments point to wildfires as justification for growing budgets, and yes, wildfire suppression is expensive. But even there, much of the work is now done by seasonal crews, private companies, and separate state funding sources. Here's another perspective. Depending on your area, for every one structure fire a firefighter responds to, they'll run about 40 plus medical calls. And in almost every one of those calls, EMS will arrive too, with equal or higher medical certification. So now the big question, are we spending more on fire services simply to reshape departments into a secondary medical agency? The U.S. government made moves to shrink funding in 2020. Fire agencies fired back, saying lives would be lost. But the data shows that in most cities with ambulance coverage, that's not necessarily true. Now, rural areas are different. They may not have separate EMS and fire agencies, and volunteers often fill dual roles. In those communities, combining fire and EMS makes complete sense. Large cities are now starting to move toward combined services as well. Some firefighters are reacting strongly. Some medics are frustrated that fire service budgets grow while EMS feels underfunded and overworked. And honestly, I get both sides. Firefighting training already demands mastery across a massive range of skills: suppression, rescue, hazmat, high-angle, confined space, disasters, and now add medical rotations on top of that. Some departments solve this by embedding full-time paramedics directly into stations, teaming them with firefighters. That might be the future, even if some old school voices resist the change. But there's one truth that sits right in the middle. Even if fires are less frequent, we will always have them. Humans will always need someone capable, trained, tough, calm, and ready to risk everything to protect life and property. The job isn't disappearing, it's evolving. And maybe, just maybe, what we need is not fire versus EMS. Maybe we need a new combined frontline service, trained to handle all emergency needs efficiently, without fighting over budgets and recognition. Because when the alarm hits, nobody cares what department patch is on your shoulder, they care that help is coming. I think with the right research, planning, and integration, we could build a frontline emergency system that's more advanced, more adaptable, and more cost-effective.
As you can see, they said a mouthful, and I somewhat agree with them. But how do we keep it going? How do we justify us being firefighters by title, but doing a job that includes so much more than fighting fire? We continue to improve ourselves by engaging with the public. Whatever the public needs, that's what we offer. So there's a lot more things we can do to keep us busy and also justify us being more than just firefighters. So thank you again for checking out this episode of the Black Fireman. Comment down below and get into the conversation of what do you think we need to do to make our jobs more justified, and also what we can do to enhance the needs of the community by a firefighter standpoint. So again, like, subscribe, and comment. And until next week, I'll see you then.